Yo, what's good, everybody? Hello. Joey J. Ping here, checking in live. RespectMyRegion.com. We're back here with another episode of the RMR podcast. Today is actually a New York cannabis podcast themed episode. I've got my guy Vladimir Bautista here. He is the co-founder and CEO of Happy Munkey. That's Happy Munkey with a U, folks. Make sure you guys get it right. Not to be confused with any of the other Happy Monkeys out there. But they are a well-known cannabis lifestyle brand that has also now opened 2 dispensary locations, one in Uptown Manhattan and one in downtown Brooklyn. Those are very well-known areas. It's a very historic in many ways for there to be legal cannabis in these areas. And we've got special guests here, like I said, folks. Vlad, Bautista, welcome, brother. How are you doing today? Good morning, afternoon. How are you rocking there from New York?
Happy Thursday. It's the afternoon here. Thank you for having us, Joey. Always been looking up to what you've been doing with Respect My Region. Honor to be here telling me and Happy Munkey's story.
This is definitely one that I will admit to being, and I told you this in person, it's just overdue. You've been building your brand for so long, and doing rounds of interviews. I mean, I've been following your guys' story through other publications for a long time, and I'm happy for us to finally come around together in our way, because I don't think I had really been around you physically too much. Obviously, I'm on the West Coast, you're on the East over there. A lot of your time is spent there. I admittedly spend a lot of time in other people's dispensaries when I'm there. Shout out our normal sponsor on those trips. And thus I haven't really come across you. And so it was a pleasure to hang out with you in California recently at Hall of Flowers. I thought it was great that they brought multiple people together, Devin from Massachusetts, and so many different individuals that we align with out there. My guy John Bond came out from Missouri. It was just so great to finally connect with so many people from across the country in a central location. And now it's 420 month. Vlad, you got 2 dispensaries going. I imagine you're a busy guy, and so talk to me. This is the 2 dispensaries. How long have they been open for? What's the most recent one that launched?
The first one was about 6 months ago, a little bit more. We opened about beginning of September, late August, and that is the Upper Manhattan one. That one is the first legal one in history in that region of Upper Manhattan.
Wow.
And then the second one, it's been about 3-4 months, opened around the November, so it's been like 4 months, and that one is in downtown Brooklyn, Fulton Mall.
Okay. Are these places, because with me not being from there, I can't visually think of like what these areas look like or the quantity of humans in there. Obviously, you think of New York City and just how massive and busy it is. Is it safe to assume that those 2 areas are just as busy as the other super busy areas, or bring some clarity to what the culture of those neighborhoods are actually like?
So that's a very good question that you asked there, because one of them, the first one, is more of a community. It's not a transit area. It's not a tourist hub.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one it was so important for us for that to be our flagship store, because that area, Uptown, Washington Heights, Inwood, I would beg to say, Joey, that is the area that has sold the most retail cannabis in the East Coast, and if not, maybe the country.
Wow. So okay, so which one is the first again and the second, so I can run it, because I did just like the joint. Short-term memory.
151 Dyckman, Uptown Manhattan. That's the first one.
Okay, so Manhattan's the first one.
First one in that area is the area that I'm telling you where I bought my first ounce at 27 years ago, and I never stopped selling cannabis since. Now, fast forward 27 years later, opening the first legal cannabis dispensary that was major, because it's like, as legalization has happened, areas like this get forgotten. And if it wasn't for them, this $6 billion New York industry wouldn't exist, because these are the people that sacrificed it all the OGs.
Yeah.
Tax. I mean, so
there's the taxes that the government makes off of this, Vlad, only come from supply and demand that predates any form of legal structure. right? That's the reality. Generational supply and demand because of real people, real culture, and real medical demand, right? At the end of the day.
Then then the other one we opened is in downtown Fulton Mall. That is like a really busy area. It's an actual mall where like we're next to like Raising Cane's, H&M, Macy's.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like more of a commercial hub.
Wow, wow. So legalization in New York, right? That's the topic. What legalization in New York City really looks like? What it looks like across New York? You have it in two major cities. You've got this neighborhood environment as one type of setting, and then you've got this mall environment with Raising Cane's and H&M and other big box retailers as your neighbors too.
That is correct.
That
So
is
that was
sick.
the goal. The goal was to make sure that the flagship, the first one, was in the culture, in the community where we started at, where we knew that only we could really open that and really give the community what it needs and really be an inspiration and a beacon of hope. And then as we expand now, we can go to more affluent areas. It doesn't matter because we took care of the hometown
Yeah.
first. We took care of the culture first. And speaking of 420, Joey, this month, for the first time in history, you see, like I don't know if you've been out here for 420, Joey. So most of the time, including us, most of the popping events happened more midtown, downtown Manhattan.
Yeah.
For the first time in history, this 420, we will be doing a huge event with like 1,000 to 1,500 people in Uptown Manhattan in one
Wow.
of the most marquee venues called the Hudson. And we got Funkmaster Flex, the biggest hip hop DJ in the
Come
world.
on, man. Funkmaster Flex.
We got a bunch of brands activating. It's on the water, so it's gonna be fly because once again we're bringing now the cannabis scene and the experience of where we are now to different areas where it's never been done before. Because at the beginning, to most people, New York is like 96 to Wall Street, but there's five boroughs and New York is huge, and now
They're
it's time.
all so different. There's a lot of similarities, but they're so not drastically different. And not in the cliche stereotypical ways either. Like there's a lot of layers to the cultures of these different communities, whether it is focused on diversity or whether it could just be simply focused on music. It could be simply focused on the flavors of the food that are around. The art, yes, classic. Another right. Like I love walking around and traveling to all these different areas when I'm there. One thing that we hear a lot about New York is when it went legal, right? There was all those bodegas, there was all those smoke shops. That's something we hear about all the time. Can you bring clarity to whatever the state of New York is in relation to that? Because I talk to some people that aren't there very often, and they make it sound so bad. And then I physically am there, and I'm like, yo, I walk around, and all I see are ones that are closed down. In your from your perspective, because you've been there through all of that, what would you say this April 3rd, no April Fools, like what is it like today?
So I take you back to how it started because we're a really new market. Cannabis got legalized like 3 years ago. Really got going 2 years ago. So New York, being the way New York is, it went 0 to 1,000. We ended up with over 5,000 illegal shops, and I think it's important for a person like me that came from legacy to legal, Joey, to point out the difference. I consider legacy somebody that has more than 5, 10 years selling this plant to take care of themselves. Is really like serious, has the ethics. What I like to call what happened more was like carpetbaggers, people that just saw the opportunity, had the real estate. Some of them have bodegas and just went crazy.
Another product to sell, no commitment to the plant, no allegiance to any part of the cannabis industry.
1,000%. So that rocked out for, I would say, about a year and a half, because there wasn't enough legal dispensaries to fill that demand.
Yeah.
But once I think we hit like 100, 150 dispensaries, they went 0 to 100, the authorities, and they shut down like 1,500, 2,000 of them like this overnight.
Yeah.
Everybody saw their sales go up, and ever since, like, there's still some here and there, but nowhere near of what it was.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I appreciate you speaking candidly on that, because it is important to realize it's easy to watch or read a couple things here and there, but to get an actual real time perspective of what's going on there. I mean, you walk outside and you can show us around. If there's 5,000 of them, one's got to be close by, right? Like, and like that. When I've been there, I see them locked. I see the thing on the window or the door, and I see them chained up and locked. And you can still see like the display cases and stuff inside. There's just nothing there anymore. It sucks. It's kind of sad, but that era was an era, and it's definitely that window is closing pretty quickly. With you there in New York, what we look at a lot of people, and I know you like to share this too. The context of where we started as a New York industry to where we are today. There was it was very quickly. It was kind of crazy for a second. There was a lawsuit. The big MSOs were not okay with the social equity. Then the social, there was just so much that's happening. I would call it commotion because as somebody that's been watching from afar, it's hard to pinpoint any one thing. You know what I mean? What has it like been for you while you were trying to get licensed, hold on to real estate, and then probably quickly building out a dispensary to get to stop losing money on the real estate and the build out and stuff, like you want to get open. So what was that kind of process like for you?
It was really complicated, but for a good reason is what I like to say, Joey, because you said it best. A lot of that happened because in other markets, the way that it usually goes is that the big MSOs and the big players go first, dominate, and then everybody else comes in. Well, New York did it different. New York is catering more to small and medium-sized businesses,
Yeah.
and they didn't like that. So that's why a lot of commotion happened. But even though it was difficult to go through that, lawsuits put things on pause, you really see now like a market like I have yet to see anywhere where people from the neighborhoods and from the towns own the dispensaries, where there are a lot of marginalized people in ownership, and surprisingly, very little small, big corporate MSO
Yeah.
ownership.
Yeah. I do you think that New York will consolidate the way that California and maybe Mass and some of these other Michigan, some of these other states have? Well, you'll see people buying up a bunch of failing license in smaller towns that maybe they didn't handle their books right or they didn't know how to run and operate I think the key word is efficiently, because you got to be profitable to continue doing things. I mean, cost of stuff goes up over time. So do you think that we'll see those 22 locations, brands, 30 location dispensaries out there? Will that become a thing in New York?
It'll definitely happen because I think that's a deeper issue that has nothing to do with cannabis or regions. That's a capitalism thing. That's like kind of an inevitable in any business. I just feel like because of the way it's set up or what I just told you, it's going to take a lot longer to
Yeah.
get there, you know?
Yeah, I feel like we're what is 2025. I got here 2019. There wasn't really that many chains back then. You had some really big delivery services and some really big dispensary locations, but there wasn't like groups with like 5, 10, 20 locations at that point. Now there's a couple with 10, 15, 20 here in Cali. I wonder what that'll look like in that timeline for you guys there in New York, because it's definitely me. You guys are good at business. There's a lot very strong demand, right?
Yeah, New York is the highest consuming market in the world, you know, per capita by people. Is that the way I like to always break it down, Joey, is like this. This is my opinion on that. It's like California produces great things. They produce great weed. They produce great wine. They produce movies. They always been master producing some of the most amazing things. And New York is just the culture, financial capital of the world that consumes everything. So we're just the biggest consumers.
That's a good, and then because you guys also too, it's such an interstate commerce mindset out there. You guys got all these different cities and smaller states that can come in there and travel in there, and people working from all over the place. As somebody that's pretty unfamiliar with all that, what kind of strategies do you guys, um, you know, integrate into your community building, into your digital? Like, I know you're very good on the internet as well, and I see you at all the events and stuff all the time online. Not all of them, but the ones someone like you would be at. You know, what is it like trying to build there with all these different moving parts and people from all areas out there? I mean, you're in one neighborhood style place, so that's got to be consistent, right, to some point. But is the Brooklyn one like that, or is that more like a come and go kind of environment?
Well, it's a combination. It's like there's a community that lives there, but then there's a lot of come and go because it's a shopping area, like you said, and it's a transit
Yeah.
hub. And that's the reason, Joey, that when you think about it, we sort of reverse engineered everything. The company Happy Monkey has been around for 7 years as a lifestyle company, trademarked and as a legal entity. And we've had a podcast with over 100 episodes, newsletter. We've done some of the biggest events in the East Coast. We had a newsletter. We've done all these things for 7 years, and the last thing that we actually started doing, you know, about 8 months ago was selling cannabis.
Yeah.
Because the way that our vision is, and my vision is that the intellectual property is our North Star, and then everything else is an ecosystem under that,
Mm.
retail, media, etc. But the North Star is the intellectual property because it's like you said, it's kind of like the only way to stand out because if not, retail and other things, it's just like you get lost, as you know, as the market gets bigger in an ocean of people doing the same thing with
Yeah.
similar products and similar locations. So we felt it was important to make sure that we were more than that. And that's
What
why we're a lifestyle company, not just a retail store.
how does that lifestyle experience and your life experiences translate into the two retail locations? What is that like? As somebody that hasn't been there, what and I feel like because digital and similar interests, things like that, I feel like I have an idea of what it might be, but what would you like people to feel and think about when they go into a Happy Monkey store and experience your lifestyle brand and again your life experiences through that retail environment?
Well, I'm born and raised in Harlem, so we always like to do things fly and nice. So
Okay.
really high end, wow, keeping the culture alive, and you're gonna see fly art all over the place that represents the culture, art that represents the neighborhood. Wow, having nice finishes that makes it elegant. So like that, if you're from Main Street, from Wall Street, from the projects, or from upper class neighborhood, to make it inclusive where everybody feels comfortable and nobody feels like they're out of place.
I think there's something. I used to run a super luxurious shop when I was a bud tender and then marketing coordinator in 2016 and 17, and it was we were always shooting to be affordable luxury. It was something that we wanted it to be attainable and for everybody. We wanted somebody, even if they were buying something that was extremely cheap or even discounted and or old and light black, light burnt, right, from the display jars, right, stuff, that product that has to sit in the jars or whatever. Like we wanted at least them to feel like they were walking away with that, and then get the the exit bag, or get the greatest customer service or education, or even still, hey, this one's, maybe a little this today. Come back next time. We got you for something this. Let me mark your profile. The way that you serve people, the way you build relationships with people is different, right? How what do you guys with your staff? Um, what are you most proud of with that team that you've built, with the team that your guys have put together? Is it the culture? Is it the people? Is it a little bit of everything? What's your guys' sauce? What are you most proud of there?
I think that's a great question, Joey. And just to give you an example of like what we built, I tell my staff all the time, I say, we're not selling cannabis. We're selling happiness, hospitality, service, treating people how we like to be treated. And cannabis is a bonus. So, for example, like when we first opened, we put out applications and we got 5,000 people trying to work in the dispensary
Holy cow!
because of what you said. They all said in the interviews, like, when we were working for other dispensaries, this is not a dispensary. This is a movement. This is a lifestyle, and we want to be part of it because we know it represents so much more legacy, New York, all the things that we encompass. So it goes so just to add to what you're saying, so the bud tenders, the managers, they feel like they're a part of it, so they exude that to the consumer when they walk in and give them that extra, I like to call green carpet treatment,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and
I think
that
that's a great way to put it.
go out of their way to really, show them love, because that's the way that we always were at all our events, where, like, I'm always trying to make sure everybody's taken care of and etc. So we've transferred that to the retail experience.
the the neighborhoods that you're in, are they, you mentioned that venue, the Hudson, that was it, is that in Uptown Manhattan, you said?
Correct.
Nice, that's cool. What made you ultimately select that? What was so special about that to you? I'm a big Funkmaster Flex fan. Obviously, I'm a big music guy. So, but why that venue? What went into like that process there and in that part of that neighborhood and everything?
Well, that neighborhood is, like I said, like nobody's done anything north of 125th Uptown, period, when it comes to 420, anything big in cannabis. That venue is like one of the most iconic venues. It used to be called La Marina, and
Hmm.
it's mentioned in songs. French Montana mentioned it, and etc. Because it's like something where you have the indoor restaurant, you have the bar, and you're on the water, and then you have an outdoor section where everybody can smoke, and you're on the Hudson River. So it just felt to me that this is the perfect way to bring a cannabis experience, like a smaller version of Hall of Flowers, but more experiential, so just for everybody to vibe, to bring something like that, because in New York it's hard to find spaces like that. So I felt like it matched what we're trying to accomplish, which is to create like a cannabis utopia for those few hours that day.
I love that. I mean, you used that word earlier about happiness, right? And hospitality. I think those are two core components that, when you're trying to deliver on experience. I mean, making someone happy can happen a number of different ways. You deliver on hospitality at the same time. The last step is always going to be just that product, right? Product price, and that's innately built in. I mean, you have the market the way it is, and whatever it is the numbers say you should do it at, or whatever it is, and it's like, well, your staff can really just focus on this because they're coming in there to buy something. They're looking for something. They're there to spend their money. It's which of the options do you have for them, right? It's very simple, but to execute on that, on happiness and hospitality, it does take focus, right? It takes a commitment to it. It takes a passion. I love that's important for you guys. You talk about local brands. You also mentioned this. You said this phrase earlier, like that you're very proud of New York, and that New York was set up that there's more, like the dispensary owners are from those local areas. I think that was something that's really cool to focus on. Is it similar with like the producer, processor, manufacturers, like the people growing it, or like a lot of the people from areas too? Are there not enough growers and manufacturers and extractors? Like, what brings some clarity to the people growing it and making product? What is that whole world like? Is there a ton
Well,
of
it's
people
crazy.
involved?
That's a great question. So there are a lot of New York brands, and most of the processors and the growers are from New York. And now, as of recently, we're starting to see more national brands come in. But to be honest with you, the people that are dominating the market more are the local New York
Yeah,
brands.
yeah.
But which is good, because it's like, New York being New York, people want to have selections from everything from everywhere. But it's good to see that even as those selections come, they're still gravitating a lot to the New York.
Oh, of course, of course. I mean, in the so like I came from one of the early rec markets right in Washington, and there are no brands from other states there for the most part. Like there might be less than 10, maybe less than 20. It just never worked, and that's where I think about that. And I also don't know how many brands excuse me, that were national ever penetrated Colorado or Oregon either. And the MSOs pretty much pulled out of California. So it would seem that it's pretty difficult to beat out the local operators in these states, just based on the history. Even though a lot of people would say, oh no, MSOs, 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 it would seem that the local products do win in these markets over time, as that is the case and has been the case. Now, New York, though, it is the hub, man. It is, there's Cali over here for a hub, and then there's New York over there for the hub. Florida's trying, they're still tripping on themselves, right? But New York is the hub. Will we see it become a market where you've got like maybe the org like in the future, will we see the Oregon shelf? Will we see the Cali shelf, or will it always be edibles, vapes, dabs, topicals,
You know, it's
flower,
funny to say that.
flower?
My prediction is that in the future, because of what I said about the hospitality part and it being the culture capital of the world, I believe that the biggest brands in the world will come out of New York. But I believe that New York is going to become the cannabis hospitality mecca for the world, where
Yeah,
we're going to start to see a lot of interactive cannabis experiences that we've never seen before. And like you said, and I think that there's going to be eventually, as things progress, like things from all over the country and all over the world here.
yeah. I
Because
think
you got 7 million people visiting a month. You know, you know, New York stuff is gonna stand out, but the appetite is so big, people always want
yeah,
variety.
we're gonna want options. I mean, I always equated. A lot of people like to talk about wine, or a lot of people like to equate cannabis to whatever kind of business they want. I like it to be kind of like groceries that expire quickly. Um, and you got to kind of carry the brands. It's great to have your own white label product. Shout out to Kirkland's and the Safeways and whatever your local grocery store brand is or whatever it is. It's great to have the local stuff. The local stuff does well. In Washington, I like to buy local apple juice. Sounds like I can get the same thing in New York, and you can get Florida oranges in Florida, right, or whatever. Georgia peaches in Georgia. Like you got to do that. Like you obviously are going to see those things, but these retailers also sell Nike, which is from Portland, right, in Oregon. They also carry big brands from other places. And so it does make sense. I feel like that would be the case. And I remember seeing a trap shop out there one day that did have it organized by state. I thought it was crazy. And then you go to Spanibus or whatever, and you go to the lounges out there historically, allegedly, and it was also organized by state and region and stuff too. And so it was just like I'm just interested in what New York's going to look like, and I'm happy to know you and be able to talk about that and see what that grows into over time. Um, we are coming up towards the end of the convo. Vlad, I wanted to give you the floor as the final part, just to let you talk about anything you guys got coming up or that you're working on. But before we get there, I'm a music guy, you're a weed guy. We're both flip flop, whatever you are. We're both that. If you were going to throw a 3-day Happy Monkey Festival, this is just hypothetically, who would be your 3-day headlining artist, and which products from your store would you give each of those artists?
Oh, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite rapper is Jay-Z, so Jay-Z would be one of them.
Let's go.
Another one would be
Is he day one?
he's day one. He's
Okay.
day one. Day two, dead or I'm gonna say alive. It would be I'm a big hip hop head. Nas,
Okay.
and then day three would be Wu Tang.
Wu Tang. I've seen Wu Tang at a festival in Seattle once, and it was the most people I had ever physically seen in an entire football field, and packed into like the lines to get into the football field because they were just trying to hear it and see it because they didn't get in. It was huge. I can only imagine what that's like in New York. Okay, that's huge. All right, now, Vlad, what do you guys got going on? What's going on the rest of the month for you guys? What do you got coming up in 2025? You got any more locations? You got any you launched any products or brands? You got a world tour coming up? What are you up to, man?
Well, right now I told you biggest thing right now we have going on is 420. We're
Mm-hmm.
gonna shut the city down with that. You know, Funk Master Flex, DJ CeeLo, DJ Steph Cakes, activations, etc. Then we just launched delivery in Dykeman.
Oh
Soon
wow,
we're gonna be launching delivery in Brooklyn.
let's go,
Rewards program going.
let's go.
And then on a regular basis, each one of our dispensaries has a lounge area. We're going
Cool,
to be doing constant activations and small community events there on a regular basis. And then look out, because you never know when we're gonna keep expanding. Once we
absolutely.
get all these things in.
Man, big shout out to you for what you've been through, legacy to legal, what you've accomplished in these few years, these 7 long years of Happy Monkey, and a few years of grinding it out to build the dispensaries. That's no easy feat to build something high end, to bring it to life, put the teams together, and to operate that successfully. So big respect to what you have going on there, man. I appreciate you and your time today. I hope the 420 event is super successful for you as well. How cool to be working with all those artists at such a prestigious venue. I'm a big French fan among all the other artists you've mentioned today. So it's just like I'm honestly I'm jealous. I wish part of me is I considered moving there a couple years ago, and now I've been stuck here in LA a little bit. But if there's a place on the future on my list, it would be like, yeah, the culture of music and fashion and cannabis and things. A lot of it goes down there, and I like to stay where it's active, man. And so New York, you guys got a good one there with Happy Munkey for sure. It's going to be an exciting future and journey with you guys.
Well, remember, Joey, we don't do it for the clout. We do it for the culture.
Yes, sir.
You and all your audience out there, remember, you're too blessed to be stressed. Things that get greater later, just got to always choose happy.
Come on, man. Choose happiness. Come enjoy their hospitality. Make sure you visit their Uptown Manhattan location. Make sure you guys visit their downtown Brooklyn location. You guys can Google Happy Munkey. That's Happy Munkey with a U, folks. Munkey. Make sure you all tap in. Vlad, what's the website for people to look it up in case they are just not able to figure it out on their own on Google?
HappyMunkey.com.
Come on, let's go. Easy enough.
Tap in what we got going on, and you come hang out with us. You never know who you're gonna run into. You might run into a big celebrity like Joey from Respect Your Region.
Stop it.
So you
Stop it.
Come check it out.
Come on, man. Make sure you guys tap in. If you guys are out there in New York, so you guys got to pull up. I'll definitely be pulling up on my next visit out there. Today's episode brought to you guys by SparksCan.com, the premier marketing agency for growing your revenue on Weed Maps, Leafly, and Yelp. All you retailers that watch this or that might watch this, make sure you guys reach out, type in if you have any questions. If you're a consumer, if you guys just love cannabis, definitely pull up in New York City. We got Happy Munkey in the building, Vlad Bautista. I appreciate you, my man.